Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the channel. So let me ask you right out the gate. Have you noticed a pattern with the Cowboys' moves lately? Because if you're paying attention, it's hard to ignore what Brian Schottenheimer is doing. From the draft to undrafted free agency, he's leaving fingerprints all over this team, and it all points to one thing: he's trying to change the culture in Dallas. And no, I'm not talking about flashy names or headline-chasing signings. I'm talking about guys with leadership qualities, high character, and that gritty edge, the kind of players you want in your locker room when things get tough. That's not speculation either. Patrick "No C. Walker" dropped a gem when he mentioned that almost all of these undrafted guys were team captains in college. And when Schottenheimer says he's looking for influencers in the locker room and on the field, believe me, he's dead serious. Think about it. This is his first full draft and free agency cycle as the Cowboys head coach. And what does he do? He goes out and grabs a group of guys who don't just play football, they set a tone. They bring an attitude. They're football first, ego last. This mindset wasn't just visible during the draft, it carried right into the undrafted free agent class. And if you ask me, that tells you everything about what Schottenheimer wants this team to become. Tougher, smarter, more unified. Guys who are leaders, even if they don't wear a C on their chest. Now, before we dive into the actual names, because yeah, there are some really interesting players in this group, I want to get your take. Quick poll time. Do you believe character and leadership should weigh as heavily as talent in roster decisions? Yes or no? And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We drop Cowboys content like this all year long, even in the off-season, so if you're a real fan, you're in the right place. All right, let's break down the offensive talent from this undrafted group, starting with a wide receiver who might just surprise you. All right, let's start with the offensive side of the ball, because while none of these undrafted free agents are guaranteed a roster spot, some of them are already catching buzz, and rightfully so. First up, Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver out of Southeast Missouri State. Now, if you watch the Senior Bowl, his name might ring a bell. He was one of the more physical and polished receivers on the field, and his frame, 6'1", 212 pounds, checks all the boxes. But what separates him? Toughness. This dude plays like he's got something to prove every snap. He's not the burner like ceedee, but he's strong, crisp in his roots, and doesn't shy away from contact. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he makes a serious run for that WR5 or WR6 spot in camp. Then there's Nathaniel Pete, the running back from Missouri. He's not the biggest back out there, but don't let that fool you. Pete is explosive. He's got legit 4.4 speed, can catch out of the backfield, and plays special teams, which automatically gives him an edge in the roster battle. With how thin things look behind Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn, you never know. Pete could be that preseason darling who turns heads. But if there's one name that really screams Brian Schottenheimer guy, it's Elijah Klein, the offensive lineman from UTEP. He's not a superstar prospect, but he's tough, smart, and versatile. Has played both guard spots and even practiced at center. Coaches love those types, especially when injuries hit. Klein's the kind of lineman who could stick around on the practice squad and eventually sneak onto the 53. So here's the question for you. Which position do you think is most wide open for an undrafted rookie to make the roster? Drop your pick in the comments, WR, RB, or OL. And hey, let's not stop here, because the defensive side of the ball has a few under-the-radar names who might be even more intriguing. Now, we've talked offense, but the defense? Oh man, that's where things get interesting. There are a few undrafted free agents that could really make waves in the secondary and linebacker core, and I'm excited to see how they develop. Let's start with Zion Childress, the safety out of Kentucky. If you're looking for a hard-hitting, aggressive safety who isn't afraid to step up in run support, Zion's your guy. This dude's a leader. He was a team captain at Kentucky and was the heart and soul of that defense. What makes him even more intriguing is his ability to cover. He's a legit man-to-man guy, and that's something the Cowboys can use in the backfield. With the potential for him to push veterans like Donovan Wilson for a starting spot, he's definitely one to watch. Then, we've got Justin Barron, a linebacker out of Syracuse. He's the kind of guy who's got an eye for the game, and I mean that literally. Having been a former wide receiver, he's got that unique QB's perspective on defense. This dude is athletic, great at reading plays, and can even play in coverage, which we know is huge in today's NFL. If he can make the transition from a hybrid player to a full-time linebacker, Barron could be a surprise gem in training camp. Next up, Bruce Harmon, a defensive back from Stephen F. Austin. He's got the ball skills, 8 interceptions in his college career, but the big question is his athleticism. Can he make it at the NFL level? His ability to read the game will be tested, but as a camp body, he could offer some solid depth and competition in the secondary. And last but not least, Mike Smith Jr. from Eastern Kentucky. Another safety, another guy that fits that thumper mold. Think Donovan Wilson, but a little more raw. Smith's a physical player with a lot of grit, but he'll need to clean up his coverage skills. Still, he's got that tough-as-nails attitude that fits well with what the Cowboys are building on defense. So let's talk about it. Do you think Zion Childress can push for a starting spot this year? Vote below, yes or no. The defense is looking deep, and we've got more talent to discuss. So stick around, because these undrafted free agents might just be more than a preseason story. All right, now that we've covered some of the key positions, let's dive into something even more intriguing. Can these UDFAs actually make the team? We know the Cowboys have a solid roster, but every year a few hidden gems come out of nowhere and earn a spot. One guy I'm keeping a close eye on is Aidan O'Connell, the quarterback from Purdue. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dak Prescott is the guy, and we don't need a QB controversy. But O'Connell has some serious tools. He's got that pocket presence, a strong arm, and is really good at making quick decisions under pressure. I wouldn't be shocked if he gives Will Grier a run for that backup spot. At the very least, he could be a developmental prospect. And hey, Javon Leake, the running back out of Maryland, could be the sleeper pick of the entire group. The guy has breakaway speed and a knack for finding the end zone. The Cowboys have depth at running back, but there's always room for a special teams guy who can contribute as a returner and maybe steal a few carries. Leake has a legit shot at earning a spot on this roster if he can impress in camp. Moving to the wide receiver position, Trey Nixon from UCF is a name to remember. This guy's got great hands, a smooth route runner, and the ability to make plays in the open field. If he can build some chemistry with Dak in the preseason games, he might just push some of the lower depth chart guys for a spot. Then, there's Brian Cook, the tight end from Cincinnati. He's not the flashiest player, but he's a solid blocker and has sneaky hands. If the Cowboys want to run more 2 tight end sets, Cook could be an interesting option. He's got that physicality, and if he can show some potential as a pass catcher, he could earn a role as a backup tight end or even on special teams. So, here's the big question. Which UDFA do you think has the best chance of making the roster? Drop your vote in the comments. Aidan O'Connell, Javon Leake, Trey Nixon, or Brian Cook. Stay tuned, because this roster battle is about to get interesting. We've still got more to cover, and a couple of these players could become key contributors down the line. Now that we've broken down some of the key players from the 2025 NFL Draft, let's talk about the bigger picture. How do these selections impact the Dallas Cowboys' future? I mean, this is about more than just this season. It's about building for the next few years. For starters, the Cowboys are positioning themselves for long-term success. Let's look at the defensive picks, like Micah Parsons and Devin Harper. With Parsons already being one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, any additions or depth behind him only make this defense even more dangerous. This gives the Cowboys not just a great 2025 season, but a defensive core that could be elite for years. On the offensive side of things, if these rookie receivers and running backs step up, they could form a powerful unit around Dak Prescott for the long haul. We've all seen how Dak thrives with a strong supporting cast, and adding more talent to the mix can help keep this offense dynamic and unpredictable. These additions can give the Cowboys depth they haven't had in years, especially if players like Javon Leak and Trey Nixon make a mark. But it's not just about the present or the immediate future. These picks also give the Cowboys a foundation for sustained success. The Cowboys have always been a team that thrives on consistency, and that's exactly what they're building here. When you think about the way this roster is shaping up, there's a balance of veteran leadership and young talent that could keep the team competitive for a long time. So here's a thought to leave you with. How do you think this draft shapes the Cowboys' future? Are they on the right path to building a Super Bowl contender for years to come? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you think these draft picks will take us. That's it for today's breakdown. I'll see you in the next one.